Glad to join our 7:30 news bulletin right here on Luntha TV with me, Charity Chilanka. First, a look at the top stories. Pope Leo XIV says Jesus' cry on the cross is an act of hope, not weakness. Pedro case adjourned to October 16th as Director of Public Prosecution assumes control of prosecution. Over 1 million farmers to benefit from affordable fertilizer program. And in other news, UN humanitarian chief warns of imminent funding crisis in Haiti. We have the details to these and other stories, so stay tuned. Pope Leo XIV has reflected on the final moments of Jesus' life, reminding the faithful that his cry from the cross is not a sign of defeat, but a profound act of trust and love, which is a model for all who suffer to express their pain with hope. The Pope offered this reflection during his weekly general audience as part of his ongoing catechesis on the Passion and Death of Christ. We have a Vatican News report read by Tandewe Mzumara.
Contemplating Jesus' death on the cross, Pope Leo emphasized that the Son of God did not die in silence, but with a cry, a final piercing expression of love given to the very end. This cry, according to Pope Leo, was not merely the result of physical agony, but the final offering of a heart completely given. Quoting the words of Christ, my God, why have you forsaken me?" the Holy Father stressed that even in this moment of darkness, Jesus was not losing faith, but entering into its deepest expression. Pope Leo encouraged believers not to see crying as a failure of faith or strength, but rather the most sincere form of prayer, what one does when words fall short. As darkness covered the land and the veil of the temple was torn in two, the Pope explained that all of creation seemed to enter into Christ's suffering, adding that far from despair, these signs pointed to something new, the removal of the barrier between God and humanity. The Pope turned attention to the Roman centurion, the first to proclaim faith after Jesus' death, saying despite being an outsider and a pagan, he was touched not by miracles, but by the way Jesus died. The Holy Father continued that Jesus' final cry was not a cry of defeat, but of surrender, the last thing he had to give. He said in it, believers find a model for their own struggles, not silence or resignation, but the hope that someone is listening. He insisted that crying out is not merely an emotional but spiritual, encouraging the faithful not to fear tears, even when suffering overwhelms. In closing, Pope Leo invited everyone to embrace their cries in the presence of God, saying a cry born of love is never ignored, and it may be the beginning of something new, a threshold of grace, a new birth.
The case involving Luntha Mtaya, also known as Pedro, has been adjourned to October 16th after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions (DPP) took over prosecution, with the court granting a 30-day adjournment instead of the 60 days initially sought. On Wednesday, September 10th, the court did not convene in open chambers, but held a closed session where the state announced that the Department of Public Prosecutions had taken over the case previously handled by police prosecutors. More in this report, followed by Gift Kalwanga.
After the adjournment of Pedro's case on July 10th, when the court warned the state that failure to produce witnesses could lead to the discharge of the accused person, the matter reconvened on September 10th. The hearing was held off-chamber, during which the state requested an adjournment to October 16th, which the court granted. Speaking with Luntha News, Director of Criminal Litigation, Ziko Malunda explained that the adjournment was necessary due to two main reasons. Firstly, the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, has now taken over the prosecution from the police, requiring time to review the case files and make any necessary amendments to the charges. Secondly, the officers assigned to the case were unavailable as they are currently attending a case management systems refresher course in Luntha.
The matter was adjourned to today for further hearing. You will recall that earlier on the court had made a direction or a ruling that the state should commence the prosecution on this matter, in which it will be discharged. The accused person will be discharged. However, there are a number of developments that have occurred. Firstly, the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has now taken over the prosecution of this matter.
However, defense lawyer Kwima Mchizi confirmed that they had no objections to the delay, understanding that the state required additional time. However, defense lawyer Kwima Mchizi confirmed that they had no objection to the delay, understanding that the state required additional time. Mchizi also said that the state was initially seeking a 60-day adjournment, but they have agreed on 30 days.
We had no issues with the adjournment on the basis that we also understand as officers of the court that our friends were tied up or are tied up as of today and tomorrow, I think. So they were seeking an adjournment initially for 60 days, but we've agreed on 30 days for adjournment. So we had no issues.
On July 10th, Principal Resident Magistrate Benjamin Chulu warned that the accused could be discharged if the government failed to produce witnesses. With the DPP now handling the case, the next hearing is scheduled for October 16th, when both parties will reconvene. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalonga.
The Ministry of Trade has reaffirmed the government's commitment to dismantling cartels causing artificial scarcity and price hikes of sugar in the country. This comes as a role suspected of smuggling 200 bales of sugar into Zambia was intercepted in Chiripa by the Ministry of Trade and Industry's market surveillance team on Tuesday evening. According to the ministry's spokesperson Patrick Bota, the driver and assistant admitted their destination but lacked proper documentation and are now in police custody. Noting that this comes as queues reappear at distribution centers, Bota insists urged the public to stay vigilant and report suspicious activities involving sugar and other essential goods. Here's part of what Bota had to say.
Indeed, I can confirm that a lorry carrying 200, not less than 200 bales of sugar was intercepted last evening Chiripa. And upon close interrogation, both the driver and the assistant driver confirmed that they were headed for Zambia. So, but when asked for the documentation, they were unable to provide the requisite documentation, and nor were they able to disclose the name of the owner. So these two people were handed over to the police, and as we're talking, the police are carrying out their investigation.
Independent presidential candidate Phunzile Mlambo says his administration will have a maximum of 10 cabinet ministers if voted into power on September 16th, the general elections. He made the remarks at a press conference in Lilongwe on Wednesday, where he outlined his manifesto, which includes that he will introduce a fertilizer manufacturing company, among others. Robert Edward with the details.
With 6 days to voting day, the 16th September 2025, candidates are full throttle making their promises to Malawians who will decide on the voting day. On Tuesday, one of the independent presidential aspirants, Phunzile Mlambo, told journalists in Lilongwe that within 100 days, his administration will recover 31 trillion kwacha, former president's offshore accounts money allegedly being proceeds of corruption, and it will be used to pay the debt that the country is grappling with. He says his cabinet ministers will not use luxurious vehicles and his salary will be trimmed.
All these other politicians, we cannot say that they don't know what they're supposed to do for the country. They know, but they lack the commitment. I am someone who is committed, and I live my words. I walk the talk.
On agriculture, Mvula says he will introduce fertilizer manufacturing company in Malawi for cheaper fertilizer. With few days to vote, Malawians will decide next week, Tuesday. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
You are watching news on Luntha television. We'll be back after this short break.
Mwaswera Grace.
Ndaswera kai maive.
Mwagula maboko kodi?
Ayi ndabwereka ku library.
Kodi yakope ni secondary school so mmata kugwiritsa ntchito library ya school?
Ndi china chilichonsetu. Library, lab ya science, ya ICT, komanso maphunziro amakono apa phone, tablet, computer ndi digital learning. Timagwiritsa ntchito notesmaster.com. Ndi chimodzimodzi lophunzira aliyense wa ku secondary school ya boma.
Izi ziri ndiye zosangalatsa. Maphunziro apamwamba ndithu. Ayiveru pachasana sankhidwe ndini madankhawa kuti kodi kadi ndipanga bwanji.
Ife tonse amene tinakhonza mayeso a 8 koma sitinasankhidwe kupita ku secondary, munasiyira sukulu ya secondary panjira kapena mukufuna kutsitsa ma points, dziwani kuti unduna wa maphunziro a primary ndi secondary unakhazikitsa maphunziro a open secondary schools ngati njira imodzi yowonjezera mwayi wa maphunziro apamwamba kudzera msukulu za secondary za m'madera athu kumene kuli aphunzitsi odziwa ntchito yawo bwino komanso zipangizo zapamwamba zoyenera pa maphunziro. Musazengereze, kalembetsani lero ku open secondary school ya mdera lanu kuti mupeze maphunziro apamwamba.
Uthengawu akukupatsirani ndi aunduna wa maphunziro aku primary ndi secondary kudzera ku Equals Project ndi thandizo la ndalama lochokera ku World Bank.
If you've just joined us, I know that you're watching news on Luntha television. Now a reminder of the top stories. Pope Leo XIV says Jesus' cry on the cross is an act of hope, not weakness. Pedro case adjourned to October 16th as Director of Public Prosecution assumes control of prosecution. Over 1 million farmers to benefit from affordable fertilizer program. And in other news, UN humanitarian chief warns of imminent funding crisis in Haiti. Moving on with the news, the Minister of Agriculture Sam Kawali has announced that over 1 million smallholder farmers are expected to benefit from this year's Affordable Fertilizer Program, AFP. Speaking during his visit to the Smallholder Farmers Fertilizer Revolving Fund of Malawi, SFFLI Farming Sante Kasuku on Tuesday, Kawale confirmed that farmers can now start purchasing the subsidized fertilizer following President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera's announcement of the program Monday. Bridget Monoka has filed a report read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
Kawale said the initiative aims to cushion vulnerable farmers who cannot afford high fertilizer prices on the commercial market. He added that each farmer will be allowed to buy 2 bags of fertilizer at 90,000 Malawi kwacha, saying 30,000 metric tons of fertilizer have arrived in the country, and Malawians should be confident that an additional 300,000 metric tons will soon be delivered.
Launched the new products as well as programs that the president announced yesterday in the address to the nation, where he told the Malawian farmers of the commencement of the affordable as well as inexpensive fertilizer that the government of Malawi is delivering to our farmers, as well as the commencement of the AIP program. Starting with AIP, we are going to start on October 1, as he announced, and there are a couple of changes that we have done the program to make it more efficient and also to eliminate some of the challenges that we had in the previous programs.
As Senior Group Chigodi explains, many farmers in Kasungu welcomed the program, saying affordable inputs will help them increase productivity and reduce hunger in their communities.
We are truly excited about this program because it promises great benefits for our farmers. As the minister explained, government's goal is to ensure Malawians have enough food. Beyond that, farmers who belong to different crops will also be among those benefiting.
The Affordable Fertilizer Program is one of government's flagship agricultural interventions under the Affordable Imports Program, introduced to ensure that even the poorest families can access farm inputs. The Minister of Agriculture says it is working closely with SFFRFM and other partners to strengthen distribution channels, reduce corruption, and ensure that fertilizer reaches farmers on time ahead of the new farming season.
Malawi Electoral Commission Mayor Commissioner Dr. Emmanuel Fabiano has pledged the Commission's full commitment to a smooth electoral process, beginning with the timely distribution of ballot papers to constituencies across the country. Making the assurance during the official dispatch of ballot papers at Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe on Wednesday, Dr. Fabiano emphasized that MEC is operating with professionalism and in full compliance with the national laws, ensuring that all procedures align with the standards of a free and fair election. Emmanuel Jocha with the details.
Dr. Fabiano highlighted that despite encountering minor challenges such as breakdown of vehicles transporting ballot papers, the Commission effectively addressed these issues. The dispatch of ballot papers has been progressing well, with all papers reaching their respective constituents as planned.
There were minor challenges, and they were minor because we know that when we are transporting a load, or even people just traveling, vehicles do break down. So there was one vehicle going to Kadabe North, Chikwina TDC, which had a fault. It didn't break down, it had a fault. So they had to replace that vehicle with another one. And the ballot papers reached the destination. Similarly, for Chikawa Central, there was a problem that was that developed a vehicle somewhere around Sangano, and the vehicle was replaced by another vehicle, and the ballot papers have reached Chikawa Central.
Representative of political parties, Macford Somanje, commended MEC for handling the dispatch process efficiently, overcoming logistical hurdles.
If I can rate it out of 1 to 5, where 1 is the highest, I'll put it in the middle point. It's a very good process. We don't have any problems. We expect MEC to be as transparent as they were last night, in the sense that they provided updates every now and then. Today, we also expect that if there are instances, they should report immediately so that we can escalate to our party structures.
Only 6 days are remaining before Malawians head to the polls on Tuesday, September 16th, to elect their president, members of parliament, and councillors, exercising their democratic right. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Ichuwacha.
In other news, the UN Humanitarian Affairs Chief in Haiti warned on Tuesday that not enough is being done to support humanitarian efforts and that funds could run out by the end of the month. UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief OCHA Coordinator Tom Fletcher visited the capital Port-au-Prince for a one-day trip to the troubled country. Fletcher aims to evaluate the deteriorating humanitarian crisis caused by the widespread gang violence that has killed thousands and left more than 1 million homeless. We have an African News report read by Gift Kalonga.
The Undersecretary started the visit with a tour of one of the hundreds makeshift shelters that house some of the 1.3 million people in Haiti who have been internally displaced due to escalating gang violence, according to the latest UN report. Walking through the narrow paths in the overcrowded shelter, Fletcher said that what was being done to help the people was important, but that there was still a gap in support. Fletcher also visited the hospital Universitary Rapé, which the World Health Organization called a beacon of resilience in the heart of crisis when the gang attacks forced many hospitals to close in an already fragile health system. The hospital is at the forefront of the response to the current emergency. It is the only public hospital capable of managing a large number of severely wounded patients, victims of rape and maternity and infant care. Making another appeal to the international community, Fletcher warned that all could be in jeopardy if funds of the hospital ran out by the end of September. The OCHA chief concluded his tour with a visit to youth center inaugurated in June of this year in municipality of Delmas with funding from UNICEF and United States Institute of Diplomats and Human Rights. The center provides attention and vocation training to adolescents and youth from communities affected by armed violence, as well as those living in shelters in the Port-au-Prince metropolitan area, where access to education and training opportunities is extremely limited. According to the UN, Haiti's gangs have gained near total control of the capital, and authorities are unable to stop escalating violence across the impoverished Caribbean nation.
That African News report also brings us to the end of our today's bulletin, but let's have a recap of the top stories before we go. Pope Leo XIV says Jesus' cry on the cross is an act of hope, not weakness. Puedo case adjourned to October 16th as Director of Public Prosecution assumes control of prosecution. Over 1 million farmers to benefit from affordable fertilizer program. And in other news, UN humanitarian chief warns of imminent funding crisis in Haiti. You have been with me, Charity Chilanga. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and continue enjoying the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye.